Let's go to the Peach Bowl. Texas playing against Arizona State. I mean, a team. Oh, I literally said it when Arizona State was playing against. Were they playing against? Or Kansas was playing against BYU. Arizona State was playing against someone, or they're playing against Kansas State as like 8-point underdogs. And I'm like, why wouldn't we take Arizona State plus 1,700 to win the Big 12? Because I was on Kansas beating BYU, and I was also on Arizona State beating Kansas State. Now there was more stuff that needed to happen for Arizona State to win the Big 12, like aka them winning another big game against BYU the following week. But I don't know why. I don't know why I wasn't on it. Unbelievable. I literally said it on air, but here we are, and they got a chance to really prove themselves against an offense that I'll say at times is underwhelmed this year. Right, like when you get pressure on Quinn Ewers, it's a problem. And before this season, if you were to tell me that Arizona State's defense was going to be as good as it was, I would have said like, holy cow. I mean, Brian Ward, what a job, right? Because you lose your best defense, you lose your two best defensive players, right? One on the defensive line, and then you lose Jordan Clark over to Notre Dame. I know he's banged up with injuries, but when he was healthy at Arizona State, he was one of your better defenders. Like he just was. And you lose that, and you have the season that you did, right, in the Big 12, particularly in that front seven because of the level of running backs and rushing attacks that you had to play in the Big 12. That was impressive. All right. And you know that Texas is going to want to try to run the ball with Trey Wisner, who's been really solid for them once they found him and kind of rode the rock with him as the season has gone along. He's been really good. Jane Blue had the explosive touchdown, too, against Clemson. So he also is a very good running back. The staff is still high on him, too. I just think Arizona State to win this game, they got to get pressure on Quinn Ewers. They got to stop the run. And then offensively, I think just what happens, happens. I think this is going to be a Brian Ward. If Arizona State wins, it'll be a Brian Ward masterclass, and it'll be Sam Leavitt taking care of the football. I really do. So, and Arizona State can win this game. But this is the same spread, by the way, that Texas had against Clemson. Now, the difference is that game was in Austin.
Neutral site, yep.
Yep, versus a neutral site game. So Arizona State, according to Vegas odds makers, right, is a worse team than Clemson, which I probably agree with overall.
Like odds wise, for sure. But I also think you got to reward what Arizona State has done this season and the consistency they played with, and just how they've just turned it on. And they're what they've done such a good job was, and I think would be so pivotal and be so nice for Kenny Dillingham, Sam Leavitt, those guys there, is to get off to another hot start, right? Get in a positive game script, not only because you have, right, I think the best player in this football game, Scadaboo. All right, maybe you could argue a couple of defensive backs for Texas, but yeah, I think Scadaboo is just so good. And if you get in a positive game script, right, not only are you running the football well and running the ball and punishing this, not that it's leaky front seven for Texas, but I do think you saw Georgia at times in the SEC championship game had some nice runs with Etienne, and I think it could be there for Scadaboo. But then also Quinn Ewers put him in a spot where he has to throw the football. And if you have some banged up offensive linemen, you saw that in the quarterfinal game, in the first round game against Clemson. You had the right tackle Cameron Williams go down with the right knee sprain. You had Jake Majors, the center, go down after the big blindside hit there on the turnover. It sounds like Majors is going to play. It sounds like it's a game time decision for Connor Williams. Now, if you're Texas and you recruit the way they do and you build a program the way you do from the inside out there, you got a guy that you could just plug and play and actually be pretty damn good, right? Cole Hudson, a really nice utility man inside. You kind of slide Hudson in left guard. You move Hayden Connor over to center. And then, when Connor Williams' right tackle went down, you got a guy in Gooseby that can play for you who did pretty well.
Very well.
In pass pro. Yeah, for sure.
Like,
so
coming in big spots, Gooseby did very well.
What a luxury. What an absolute luxury. So it is nice to have for Texas. I do think, though, where I just don't love Quinn Ewers having to throw the football, because I think their wide receiver core, and now you'll get some reinforcements, right, with Isaiah Bond come back hopefully healthy, and we see what he's done in big games at his time in his career, especially more at Alabama. He gives you an added dimension to this offense with Matthew Golden playing better football as well. I just like Texas in this spot here. I liked Clemson last week. I wasn't surprised at the outcome, right? I thought Clemson had a chance to make it a lot closer game. I think Texas, kind of turns it on. I do think, getting Isaiah Bond healthy is a huge deal. Um, I do worry about just the level of athletes on the Arizona State defense, right? You saw, and I think Clemson's got a pretty athletic defense, especially at that second level and linebackers. And there were so many times where they were just late getting over, filling. You had all those runs, the outside zones, and all that stuff that Texas was able to do and just really gash Clemson. Just a lot of that game. And I wonder if that happens again here against Arizona State.
Well, one thing I'll give Arizona State's secondary a lot of credit for, and by the way, every single starter in Arizona State's secondary has played over 700 snaps this year, right? So, like, they know what they're doing. Brian Ward is extremely confident in them. I'll say the caveat, right, with they fill the run very well, right? Like, they're in spots, okay? Like, Miles Rouser, over 60 tackles. Shamari Simmons almost at 60 tackles. They're playing in the nickel.
Simmons is a big dude.
I mean, yeah, dude, they're good at being in the right spot. Problem is, like, I mean, Shamari Simmons, close to 20% missed tackle rate, right? Miles Rouser, close to 15% missed tackle rate. Like, if you miss those tackles in the secondary, like, I don't know, but like they're gone, right? Like that's a huge issue. But if they're in those right spots and they're able to make the tackles, right, in this game, 133 missed tackles, right, it's pretty significant, okay, for Arizona State. And I'll say this, like we talked about taking care of the football earlier with Boise State. Uh, Boise State and Arizona State are both tied for second in the country with only 8 turnovers on the offensive side of the football. Other teams, right, that didn't turn the ball over as much. Vanderbilt, right, was the best team in the country that they overachieved, right? Memphis won what they win 10 games, James Madison, uh, they won 9 games. Indiana made the college football playoffs. UNLV probably overachieved. Army overachieved. I mean, Clemson made the college football playoffs. You're looking at teams like in the top 10, top 15 in turnovers lost. It's a big deal, right? It's a big deal. And now turnovers, I know, are hard to predict, right, in a 1-game sample size, and stuff can happen, and there's a lot of volatility there. But if they take care of the football, right, and just leave it up to the players on the field, basically, I do think Texas has better players, right? But I think Arizona State is certainly going to give themselves a chance, particularly if they also don't let up explosive plays in that secondary. Again, that secondary is experienced, and they're not bad. I know they've given up some explosive plays at times, but they're good, dude. They're good, particularly in that run game. So however, with all of that being said, I think I'm going to take Texas to win. I think I'm going to take Texas to cover. Not necessarily because of my confidence in Quinn Ewers. I just think that Arizona State is going to have a really tough time scoring on Texas. I think they really are. Sam Leavitt has not experienced the kind of pressure that he's going to experience against Texas. Okay, he's a young quarterback, guys. Let's not forget that. I know he's taking care of the football really well this year, and he's done a really good job down the stretch. I mean, really nice job, getting his guys down the field. But I'm assuming Jordan Tyson, he's not healthy for this game, is he?
That's the killer right there. That is the caveat, because
he's huge.
You talk about explosive plays, like those the equalizer, right? Sometimes in these games where you do have a little bit of talent edge, especially when you have a really talented defense and an offense that's maybe a little bit out physical, you scheme up explosive plays. You get guys that break a tackle or maybe make a man miss in the secondary. Like Tyson was so good at that. I mean, he had 1,100 yards, right, in 12 games, 12 and a half games, and then 12 and a half games. And then your next leading receiver was your running back, Scadaboo, at 500 yards. But after that, it was a revolving door. You saw a lot more Guillory and Stovall.
Who's there. Good. And Guillory was your leading receiver in 2023, right? Like, he's not a nobody. Right?
No. But it's obviously like Tyson was obviously the focal point. And like what he did opened up a lot of things for Scadaboo. And he's going to have to be on this game, though. Here's what I'll ask you this, though. So you look at Texas' schedule, right? And I'm looking at the running backs that they played. And I know they played a lot of good ones, right? You got a couple kids at Florida, right? You got, obviously Georgia.
Texas A&M with Le'Veon Moss.
No Le'Veon Moss there.
Phil Maffa, when Clemson's offensive line fell apart at the end of the season, particularly in the run game.
Maffa got hurt too, right, in that game. So, And also that was back when Michigan, you played them. They still didn't hand the ball to Khalil Mullings too, so it was more Dom Edwards in that game. Obviously this is the best running back they've played because it's probably the second or third best running back in the country.
Yep.
Um, he could be a guy. I mean, here's what I'll ask you this: we just talked about Boise State and Penn State. There's some similarities here with maybe lesser talented team, double digit underdog, elite freaking running back, and a quarterback that is taking care of the football. Right? Who do you trust to get more work on the ground and have more success down to down? Scadaboo or Genty?
More consistency down to down. I'll probably take Genty still.
Yeah, I think
I
so
still probably
too.
take Genty.
Although I also give Kenny Dillingham 2 weeks, 4 weeks to prepare. And by the way, like, yeah, you didn't know if Texas was going to beat Clemson, but I'm pretty sure that staff was doing a lot of work on Texas, right? Even before they were going to play that football game.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Also, I mean, Texas is another one of those teams. 133 missed tackles on the season, and not a lot of that was from their safeties, who are very exceptional football players, particularly in coverage. But I don't know. They don't have great edge defenders, right? When it comes to stopping the run game, it's been a lot of Anthony Hill. Having him use that speed to get to the outside and being able to make those plays there. Like, who's their best edge defender, against the run?
it's probably not. It's not Trey Moore. It's not the freshman either. I mean,
it's not Colin Simmons. I don't know. It's probably Sorrell, right? But there's a chance that Texas could get gashed, But I don't think that's going to be the case.
Well, you also it's such a luxury having such a good secondary because Malik Muhammad, you got the Thorpe winner, Jade Barron, Makuba's back there. Obviously, no Williams, he's been hurt, but you've kind of adjusted and not really missed a beat there. And with no Tyson, you kind of feel good about being able to stack the box and focus on the Scadaboo. And if Levitt beats you, and if those receivers beat you 1-on-1, that happens, right? If you're Texas, consistently, it's going to be hard to do that. Now, here's the thing, though. Scadaboo has run the ball well against stacked box before. Now, it was more Iowa State. It was different, maybe a little different caliber run defense there. But
there's a lot of linebackers, not a lot of meat, if that makes sense.
If I told you
this is more meat. A stacked box from Texas is more meat than a stacked box from Iowa State.
Well, and you got Broughton and Collins in the middle. I mean, you got big dudes in the middle that can really affect what you're doing. You have to run outside, and Scadaboo is really good. But I also love him running a little bit more north-south than I do east-west, especially with the speed of linebackers that Texas has. If I told you this at halftime, Scadaboo has 112 yards at halftime. Are you going to be like, whoa? I mean, obviously, that's a dumb question, but would that really surprise you?
No, not necessarily. I mean, he had.
Does he need to? Does he need to have a monster game for Arizona State to win?
I probably.
Or your defense. I think it's that, or you have turnovers and your defense just shows up like crazy.
Yeah,
and outperforms. And Brian Ward's in his bag, and you have some explosive plays in the passing game. But yeah, it's you need Scadaboo, and he's been there all year when you've needed him. Oh, his contact balance is so freaking good. But here's the thing, though. We talk about the SEC as this, elite physical defenders, NFL players. We saw in Lenore Sellers, right, what he did to the SEC. And I know it's different, right? He didn't play Texas and Georgia, whatever. But, they're not perfect players, right? And you get Scadaboo in space, or you get a one-on-one with a linebacker, or you get him moving downhill. No one stopped him so far. But with that being said, I'm on Texas here too. And I think they're actually – the reason why I'm on Texas is because I think Texas' offense is going to have work, going to put in work.
I mean, for Texas' sake, I would hope so. But Brian Ward is going to be pretty dialed, because I looked at this total and I was like, man, I'm with you. Texas's offense could do some stuff against this defense, but I saw it at 51.5, and I'm like, Wow, I maybe kind of like the under there, but I do think that there is a potential, right, for those Texas wide receivers. It is a more talented receiver group than probably Arizona State's seen all year, right? I mean, like I can't think of a wide
Texas
receiver
Tech,
group. That's true. That's true. But Texas Tech,
they
they
put up
put up
30. They put up 30, and they
they put
won.
up numbers.
No, it was in Lubbock, right? And that's a
Texas
little
State
different.
also put up pretty good numbers, and a lot of that had to do with the passing game from Texas State. Um,
UCF, the different quarterback in, but obviously RJ
Jalen
Harvey
Daniels
was really
threw.
freaking good.
Jalen Daniels threw for 260 yards, 2 touchdowns.
They put up 31.
UCF, Dylan Risk threw up over 200 yards. RJ Harvey had 3 touchdowns in that game, but
That
yeah,
that's
it's not crazy. It's not crazy.